Your host, Laura Rutledge, coming your way this morning at 10 a.m. Central from the historic KCOH-TV radio station, The Boost, at the corner of Alameda and Wichita in Houston, Texas. Let's chat about all things leadership and showing up, how we get aligned, how we get clear, how we take action. Join me for some great conversation. And then head to your favorite podcast platform or my website and subscribe to my weekly podcast. It's also called The Rutledge Perspective. The episodes are short and sweet and full of juice. And I promise you, you'll get something out of every single one. Each one will help you shift your perspective. And I'm telling you, when you shift your perspective, you shift your circumstances. So join me this morning, 10 a.m. Can't wait to hear you. Bye.
Good morning, Felicia. It's Tuesday, y'all. So excited. We're getting ready to get rolling here at the historic KCOH TV radio station in Houston, Texas. The Boost on the corner of Wichita and Alameda in 3rd Ward, not the Museum District, in 3rd Ward in Houston, the Tray. And I'm so happy to be here. Let's go, Felicia. Kept it inside, didn't tell no one else. We are so happy to be here. Me and Jerry P. Beasley, producer extraordinaire. Good morning, Deanna. It's okay. She's been MIA. See, we gonna make this happen today. I am, as always, I'm so excited to be here and happy to be a part of this show and to have had the opportunity to do this show. Dang it, just remembered I was supposed to do something for somebody this morning, but I'll just have to try to do it when I get home. So got a few announcements and things, and then we are going to dive in. We're going to be talking about learning today. And so as a reminder, vote. Make sure you're getting registered. So we are getting closer and closer to November. We're getting closer and closer to November. Make sure you are checking your state. Some states it's 60 days, some days it's 30 days. Make sure you are checking your state for when the voter registration deadline is. Do not miss that deadline, okay? Make sure you understand you can go to vote.gov in the US, vote.gov, G-O-V, and find out when the deadline is for registration, okay? Vote.gov. It'll give you all of the rules by state for your registration for voting, okay? So make sure that you are doing that. That is critically important. All right. Then go to ballotpedia.org, ballot as in, let me go fill out my ballot, and pedia as in wiki, right? Ballotpedia.org. And you can find out when all of the elections are happening in the US, right? Every single election, local election, statewide election, primaries, recalls, everything is there. And you can get a printout of a sample ballot for your election, for your state, for your whatever. Get a sample ballot there, ballotpedia.org, okay? Get educated. Go find out what's going to be on your ballot and get educated about the issues. Please get educated about the issues. There's one coming up here in Texas that I keep hearing about. I keep seeing the commercial, and I have not taken the time to go educate myself on it. So I can't speak to it yet, but I'm going to. But it's apparently some bipartisan bill about our power grid. So we shall see. I'm going to go get the information on that and read about it and see what's going on, because we do need to do something, because see, all this other distraction is keeping us away from the real deals here. So, but go get educated, go find out what the issues are, what's going to be on the ballot, so that you can figure out where you stand on those issues. Also, go find out who's running and then go look them up. Did they do a website for their campaign? If not, why didn't they do one? Right? Because websites are pretty cheap right now. So did they do a website? Where are their donations coming from? How are they getting funding? Go do some digging and see what's going on with the people that you are going to potentially have in office. And especially pay attention. Now, this is my bias showing, because I am all about education. Especially go look and see who's getting on your school boards or who's trying to get on your school boards. I saw a post the other day, a teacher friend of mine posted, if you want to ban a book, you must first read the book, do a report on the book, turn the report in for it to be vetted by someone with a master's in education. And then once it is approved, then you can submit your desire to ban that book. That's what I'm talking about. Because people are banning books just based on title or based on somebody said so and so and so and so and so we need to ban this book. Stop it. Stop it. Let's not go back to the 1940s. Let's not do that. Go find out who's getting on your school board, what their positions are, what they've been saying. Because see, people put their whole lives on social media. You can go find out. You can go find out. So get educated, get registered, go take somebody with you. If you're about to be 18, if you are 18, go get ready and get registered to vote. These votes are critically important, and it starts local. City council, school board, mayor, trash collector, whatever. It starts local because that's where people that's where people start trying to move up in the ranks for running for higher office. So just pay attention. Okay, y'all, just pay attention. Okay. Also, remember, 988 is now still functional. We're getting to these last 4 months of the year, and it's crazy for people. We're getting ready to get into the holidays, too. And lots of people during the pandemic, it's always hard when you lose somebody over the holidays. I mean, I have a grandmother we lost at Thanksgiving. My dad, we lost on New Year's Eve. So, holidays just kind of suck in my family. But it can be hard for people. And we're getting to be that time of year where they're just kind of back to back. 988 is now functional in the US, 988. So if you are in crisis, instead of trying to remember the 800 number for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, you can dial 988. Now, there are some adjustments they're making. I'm seeing some reports where people automatically send the police, which can, depending on who you are and where you live, can be more dangerous than just the issue that you're having at the time. But don't let that prevent you from calling to get help. Call somebody to get help. 988 is the new number for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. So please post that, places have it, whatever. Oh, by the way, pinned to the top of my Facebook, and I don't remember if I pinned it on Instagram, but I will, is the election protection hotline numbers. Okay, so those are there too. All right. So this week, a few things happening in the Laurel Rutledge world that I want you guys to know about because I want you to join me. Tomorrow night, I have Celine Williams, who is the founder and owner of Revisionary, which is a leadership consulting, executive coaching, all things business development, business leader development. She was on my podcast. I was on hers before. I'm going to have her on my fireside show. It's going to be a great conversation. We're going to start talking about how leaders are showing up now, all of this incongruence about how they're dealing with people. Good morning, Sarah. How we're dealing with people coming back, not coming back, all the things that have shown up, all the things, right? Now this whole thing that's coming up about people quiet quitting, that's not news. Just stop. That's not news. That's why job descriptions say and other duties as assigned. Stop, y'all. We're getting all up in arms again about little stuff. The big issue is how are we treating people and what are we saying and are we telling the truth? Are we telling the truth in organizations? So Celine and I have amazing conversations. Join me. I have some really great people who come and agree to be interviewed on my show. So please like, follow, share. Speaking of Fireside is now open for general access. Woohoo! So I have a general access code. I will be posting that. And basically now you can get general access on the app. You can just get in. There's a little moniker. You get the little popcorn picture. And now that means you don't necessarily have some of the same access in getting into the audience and all that kind of stuff. So someone who is a show person who owns the show will still need to know you and give you, put you on the stage and all that kind of stuff to be able to speak. But you can now get general access on the app, which is beautiful. So there's no wait period. So go get it. I'm going to post it today when I post the thing about Celine, who's coming on tomorrow night, and it's tomorrow. So the shows are moving to Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for Alignment Vision Action. And then our special once a month Empowerment Village show is going to be usually the first Wednesday at noon. But you'll get all that. I'll be posting all that. So join me tomorrow night, Fireside, and I'll post the access code. So yeah, join me and meet Celine, jump on the stage, get in the audience, ask some questions. Join me on Fireside with Celine Williams tomorrow night. And I am honored that I am going to be speaking at the Afros and Audio Podcast Festival in Philly in October. I'm so excited. I am so excited about this. So I don't know whether it's going to be my own workshop or it's going to be a panel. I think it's going to be a panel. I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm going to be speaking there. That's going to be in October in Philly. There is not only in person. So this is their 4th annual and they're going back to in person, and there's going to be a virtual option. So I'll be posting my code. so that you can, if you want to get a ticket and can attend virtually, if you're thinking about a podcast, if you have a podcast, this was the first podcast festival I ever attended, was Afros and Audio during the pandemic. And there was so much great learning there. So if you're thinking about it, if it's something you want to do, if you've already got one, it is a great thing to do. Afros and Audio, their podcast festival that's happening in Philly, October 22nd and 23rd of this year. So I'll be doing my mastermind the weekend before in Mexico, and then I come back and go to Philly. So please join me. And like I said, I'll send the codes. You can use my code and get a ticket. It's going to be really awesome. And if you can come to Philly, great. And then come up to me and introduce yourself to me. So that's happening in October. And speaking of, so there is a video that I posted last week after the radio show about the giveaway I'm doing because we surpassed 12,000 downloads on the podcast that I'm so excited about, right? And that's all y'all. That's all y'all. My text ain't coming out. That's all y'all watching my stuff, right? And I so appreciate it. And so I've got a giveaway. I've got 2 boxes that have some swag in it. It has a great little mug. It has a journal for you to be aligned, clarify your vision, and move into action. And it has a candle for you to find your space. It's white sage and lavender. So I want to give these 2 away. So all you have to do, go on my either Facebook page, which is Laurel Rutledge, or is the Rutledge Perspective. Go on my Facebook page, the Rutledge Perspective. The video is pinned to the top. I need you to comment on what you are doing this last few months of the year to get aligned and get ready for 2023. So you can do it on my Facebook page, The Rutledge Perspective. Or if you're an Instagrammer instead of a Facebooker, I am at The Rutledge Perspective, the.rutledge.perspective, or laurel.k.rutledge. Both of those work. The video, again, is pinned to the top. Go to that video. I'm walking through what's there, what's in the box. You can see the box. And comment. So those of you listening to the radio show, that's why I do the shout out, because all of you guys are also crossing over. So you're eligible too. Go look at that video and comment. It's also on LinkedIn. Again, it is featured on my LinkedIn page. I'm Laurel K. Rutledge on LinkedIn as well. Go comment on what you are doing this last 4 months of the year to get aligned for the rest of the year and to get prepared for 2023. And then on Thursday, the 1st of September. So you only got about 48 hours. On the 1st of September, I'm going to do a giveaway, and I'm going to do a spin the wheel, and we'll get somebody's names, and then I will mail it to you. So as long as it's somewhere I can mail, I don't care where it is in the world, I will mail it. So please, please, please go send me a comment. And if you are not on my mailing list and you want an extra entry, you can go to my website, laurelrutledge.com, and there's a little pink button that says giveaway email. And you can click on that button and join my email list, and that gives you a second entry, because I've got a tag that just says 12,000 giveaway. So I know exactly where it came from. So if you are interested in the second one, go do that, right? And pass it on to people. Pass on the podcast and the radio show to people and the fireside show to people. Pass that on, that information, so they can see it. And then encourage them to go listen to the video or watch the video, and then give me a comment. Because these boxes are really cool. This stuff is cool, y'all. And I'm actually going to eventually start selling it. And there will be an Alignment Vision Action specific journal coming out in 2023. So be prepared for that. All right. So here's what we're doing. Today, we're going to be talking about learning. And we'll talk about it on the podcast too. So for those of you who missed the full show or don't have time to listen to the full show, the podcast this week that will release tomorrow, it'll drop tomorrow morning. We'll also talk about this topic of learning. And it's from this standpoint. It is, I'm a lifelong learner. What I found, when I take everybody through alignment, because we're doing the 5-day alignment series right now. And the first thing starts with your root system. What are those things that ground you? And for me, it's faith, family, friends, and then health, right? And that health is physical, mental, emotional, financial. It's all of the health things. And I know when my world is not right, something in those 4 is wrong, including that I'm not learning something, right? I get bored if I'm not learning. There's got to be something that is stimulating my brain, and not just learning like why my technology isn't working today again. Not that. I mean, really learning something new, delving into something that makes my brain work, that's fascinating to me. That's why I love the polyvagal theory. That's why I love learning languages. There's just something about that activity that just really works for me. So whatever your thing is, right? And one of the things I decided to do when we talk about aligning for the end of the year is I actually joined a 90-day accelerator. I'm really excited. And it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of work. And one of the things that they have you do in the very beginning is do a time study. Now, coming out of consulting, you're used to tracking time, right? Now, it's been a few years, quite a few years. But you're used to tracking time because you bill clients based on the time you spend on their stuff, right? So if you have multiple clients, you have to be really careful about marking the time that you spend on each client's stuff, right? Because you're billing them and you want to be accurate. And so this is a time study, a personal time study that you just say everything that you do, right? And you try to be as accurate and detailed as possible. Everything you do during the day where you use all of your time. And, and I've done some of these things before and tried to pay attention and where I use time and blah, 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 blah. But again, I invested in this accelerator. So I'm like, I'm all in, right? I am all in. We're doing all the things. And what hit me was this, and this is where the learning comes in. What hit me is this. The whole point of doing this time study is to learn where your time is going and to find additional time. To find time in your day to not only do this work for this accelerator, but also to find time to work on your strategy and work on the other things and have a life, right? The idea is to find time. And you guys have heard me talk about the book, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And he talks about Newtonian time and Einstein time and how we get focused on Newtonian time, right? But it's really all about we have plenty of time to do the things we really want to do. And what it is about the choices we're making and how we spend our time, right? So I'm doing this time study and I can already feel the anxiety. I can already feel the pressure. I can already feel the judgment because I meant to be up at 4:30 this morning. Now, I didn't sleep at all Sunday night for who knows what reason. I intended to be up at 4:30 this morning. I didn't realize I had not set my alarm. I was pretty sure, like in my mind, I had set my alarms. And so, of course, I wake up at 3:30 and I was like, oh man, I got one more hour. Let me just kind of lay here. And next thing I know, it's like almost 6 o'clock because clearly I hadn't set my alarm. So all of this judgment is starting. See, just second day, you're not doing what you're supposed to do, blah, 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 blah. I mean, just the death spiral, right? And I had to pause because I do have a lot of stuff going on today. And I have my whole afternoon is taken up with something. And I'm like, I really could use this time to do something else. My whole afternoon is taken up with something. And so it gives me agita, man. When I don't have white space on my calendar, it is a trauma response for me from corporate. It is a trigger for me when I see no white space on my calendar. It is a problem that I work hard to address. And so I'm feeling all this anxiety and feeling all this craziness. I'm like, oh my God, I can't, what? Yeah. And I said, stop, right? Because remember, I've been doing the internal work for a lot of years. I can feel it coming. I can feel it. I can feel the energy, that frenetic energy that is not helpful. I can feel my nervous system starting to kick in, right? They call it that lizard brain, right? Our reptilian just response system. I can feel it kicking in and I know where that leads. That is either going to lead to irritation where I can't think, or it's going to lead to dorsal where I just go to bed and forget it all. I know it. And so I know my triggers. I know the feeling. And so I just stop. And at this point, I haven't done this in a long time. I literally put my hands up and said, Laurel, stop. Stop. It's all about perspective. It's all about perspective. This time study that is going to be so powerful is not about the time in and of itself, right? The learning is what's important. And when we often are trying to figure something out, or we're going back and being self-aware, we're doing those postmortems I talk about all the time. We're evaluating something after the fact. I want us to shift perspective to a learning perspective, which says, when I go back and evaluate this, I'm evaluating this for information, not ammunition. Isn't that good? Information, not ammunition. Because what happens is, especially if it's something where we're not real confident in how we deal with it anyway, we're looking for reasons to beat ourselves up. We're looking for reasons why it didn't work. We're looking for reasons why we can't, why we shouldn't, why we don't, why it's not right. We're looking for the answer to support the thing that our brain is telling us, right? But as I said before, my friend Sabrina Rising says, your brain lies, your gut tells you the truth. So there's something that may be telling you that fight, flight, or freeze. That fight may be telling you, don't do that, don't take that risk. So you're looking for ammunition that supports you're standing down, as opposed to looking for information that supports your path to the thing you say you want. Information, not ammunition. And we often look at the data that we get for ammunition. Now, let me put a caveat around some of this, which is this. We always talk about listening to understand, not listening to respond, and allowing yourself to get a bunch of different perspectives. That's really important. How do you really know your perspective is what your perspective is if you never hear anybody else's? It's really important to do that. And so it is when we think about that and we think about understanding what we're hearing and listening to understand and not respond, it's the same thing with information. What are we hearing? What are we seeing? How can we understand that as information, right? Yes, Felicia, it's really important to understand our triggers, right? Really pause and understand your triggers so you can respond accordingly. So when we look back and gather information, if you are in an organization, you got people working for you, and I talk about listening to understand and gathering different perspectives, and like, I don't want anybody's perspective. I don't want a whole bunch of people involved. I just know their argument is, I know I'm right and I know their argument is wrong. Okay, well, here, and I always tell you guys, well, at least listen to understand what their perspective is, because it can help you shore up your argument, right? If nothing else, even if you don't want to hear it, listen to it because it might make your argument stronger. Here's the and to that. And you may hear something that really adjusts your perspective anyway, if you're really listening, including allowing yourself to take in that information and say, I didn't think about that. Maybe I do need to adjust just a little bit. Because the other piece about learning is we have not only our personal learning, but if we're in an organization, you're hearing it a lot out in society right now, right? We've got 5 generations that are in the workplace. I think it's minimizing now just because of the pandemic, but we generally had 5 generations in the workplace. First time that's happened, right? And as organizations have spent a lot of time pre-pandemic, a lot of time. How do we attract young talent? How do we get them here? How do we get them moving? How do we develop them? How do we on all the young folk? I use that intentionally, on all the young folk, right? All the early talent, all the early career people who want to be CEO tomorrow, right? How do we make sure they're happy? Stop focusing on happiness, by the way, because you'll never make everybody happy. So just don't even make that a goal. Focusing on that, right? Then for the folks that are more senior in their career, who've been with us a long time, what we focus on is transferables or transferring their knowledge, right? Knowledge transfer, which is important. Knowledge transfer is important. But what we forget is the little nuance to say, just because someone has been here for an extended period of time doesn't mean they are no longer capable or desirous of learning or developing or growing. Yes, they are critical to us for their institutional knowledge, but guess what? Just because they've been doing this for a long time doesn't mean they don't have aspirations to do something else. Did you ask them? Did you talk to them? Are you having developmental conversations with your folks who are more senior in their career, with your senior executives? Maybe that senior executive who's been a senior VP for the last 15 years has decided, I don't want to do that anymore. What I'd really like to do is create a position which allows me to officially be, right, a mentor, a sponsor, a guide, a whatever in this organization, because I know so much and I know how to help people get there. How about we talk about that, right? Learning. Just because someone is more senior or has a little bit of gray, their wisdom highlights are showing, like mine, doesn't mean they are incapable or lack the desire to continue to learn and grow. There is a love of learning in most people, learning something new, getting really expert at your craft. Now, I'm talking about the majority of folks in the middle, right? I'm not talking about your fringes. I'm talking about the majority of folks in the middle, because on the fringes, you're going to have the folks who only want to do the bare minimum and they want to be out. And then you want to have the folks who want every project, everything. They want everything. But you got the folks in the middle who are really enjoying their work. They like what they're doing. They learn, they grow, they want to continue to do more. They also have lives, right? They have other stuff going on. But you got those majority of people in that normal curve who you should be paying attention to, all of them at some level. All of them. Yes, your high potentials, right? You want to kind of keep them, but some of those B players, you need them too. How are you continuing to support and develop them? The folks who have said, I don't live to work, I work to live. And you got me 100% when I'm here, but when I'm not here, I'm not here. So don't call me after hours. Why are we not spending just as much time continuing to develop that person? Because that person, when you allow them to develop, they may be the person that is still your institutional knowledge 10 years from now, because you have given them something that helps them learn and develop. Don't stop your learning because it feels really weird, right? It feels weird to say, no, I want to keep learning and I'm of a certain age, right? Today, we are going to take a commercial break. So give us about 30 seconds and we're going to take a commercial break here. I'm so excited. We're getting fancy. So what Jerry's going to give me the finger, we'll know. Yes, I don't know, Felicia, why people think you're too old, because just because you got a little wisdom highlight doesn't mean you're not tech savvy. Now, some aren't, clearly, but that doesn't mean every person. We need to stop spreading peanut butter. Not everyone with a little bit of gray is incapable of learning or lacks desire to learn. Stop it. Stop it. Here we go. Nope. Here's the commercial. So one of the things, and I love y'all, see, this is going to be a digression. Talk about learning. So part of, as I looked at this, going into this accelerator program, one of the things that led me to the accelerator program is I was stepping back and looking for this last 4 months of the things I wanted to do. And of course, because I am multi-passionate, there's so many things I want to do, so many things I want to get done. And then I get in that vortex of, oh my God, how am I going to get everything done? And then I realized I've got a podcast that's pre-recorded. I've got a live radio show here on Tuesdays with Jerry P. Beasley. And I've got a fireside show that's live. That's 3 shows weekly. And I get tired. And I want to bring exceptional content. And I think, well, you know what? And it's time to level up, right? 2023 is time to level up. How do I maybe do some additional production that still is me? Because I don't like things overproduced. How do I do some different things that make it look different? Maybe one goes to bi-weekly as opposed to weekly. But, how do we do all the things? And so, when I came in here, Jerry was like, you need to do some commercials. You need to do some commercials so we can have some commercials. You need to do some commercials. And I was like, oh, okay. So I did some commercials. And I thought, I don't know. And then she said today, hey, make sure we do a thing so we can put a commercial in there. I'm like, that's kind of cool. Learning, right? Continuing to learn. This radio thing, yeah, we're in year 2 of the 2 or 3. Year 3. We're in year 3 of the radio show. I'm still learning, y'all. I'm still learning how this thing works and how to promote it and what to do and when to do and what not to do. I did learn to stand up, and it does make a difference because I watched Jerry P. Beasley stand up. So, right? Jerry P. Beasley taught me to stand up, right? Give credit where credit's due. And so it's really important for us to take that learning that we have, applying it to where we're trying to go and what we're trying to do. And often we get so caught up in what we don't know that we don't make space to allow ourselves to learn the thing we don't know. We let our ego get in the way. Because heaven forbid we say, I don't know. And I'm the queen of I don't know. I don't know, but I'll find out. Or I don't know, but that is so not in my wheelhouse. Let's go make sure we turn that to somebody else, right? But I don't know is not a bad thing. It's not a bad word. And in organizations in corporate America, y'all need to make a space for people to say, I don't know. I don't know. Can you help me? To ask for help, to ask for understanding. Hey, can I just set a meeting with you so we can talk about the financials of this organization? I want to understand what the levers are. Can we talk about our supply chain? Can we talk about how our product works and why we do the things we do? Can we talk about strategy? Be open for those people who want to just set some time with you, 30 minutes. Set 30 minutes with you to understand the business. Are you kidding me? You don't have time for that? Leadership is about service. And what better way to create engagement, belonging, the new DEI word, belonging, than to allow someone to say, I want to learn and you to help them learn. That creates that stickiness, right? That creates that desire to say, oh man, I want to keep working for this person or in the organization with this person because they will talk to me about what's going on in the business. And that's important for me as I begin to learn and grow. I want to know what's going on in the business. I want to know how I can contribute. Learning is fundamental. Just like reading is fundamental, learning is fundamental. And everybody learns differently. Adults, we tend to learn by doing, right? Kids, it's like both ends, right? Babies learn by doing. Adults tend to learn by doing. We can read a lot of stuff. In the middle, it's reading. That's that college thing, right? We're reading a lot of stuff. But there's a lot of practicality that needs to happen. And there's a whole debate now, not only just about how expensive college is, but about all the book learning. But it's very old school and traditional that you just sit in a classroom and read. Right now, we need to learn how to critically. That's about reading. You need to learn how to think critically because we don't do that very well. But there's also this idea of then application. And a lot of college education has missed the application piece. That's the power of junior colleges, right? We need the application piece of what we learned. And if you want to be a PhD researcher, absolutely. There's still some application in that too, right? But for most folks, it's about how can I apply what I've learned in order to reach an outcome that I say I want. So we've got to give ourselves space to allow for learning. And when you allow for learning, you also allow for the gaps in your knowledge. You're okay with not knowing everything. You're okay with saying, ooh, that's a gap. I don't know that. Let me go find that out. Or let me go get the resources I need who can do that, because it's time is not renewable. So I have to decide if I'm trying to fill a gap, I either spend time or money. So which one is it going to be? Does it make sense for me to spend my time on this thing, or does it make sense for me to spend money because my time is more valuable somewhere else, which will generate ultimately more return? All right. You ready?
I believe so.
All right. Here we go. Commercial time.
We have not if we ask not. But if we ask and don't give detail, well, that's a problem too. So I'm going to rectify that right now. Hey there, my name is Laurel Rutledge, and I'm the host of the Rutledge Perspective Radio Show live on the historic DCOH The Boost station. And so many of you have asked how to get in touch with me or work with me that I guess it's time to let you know. Well, the easiest way to do so is to head over to my website at laurelrutledge.com. There you'll find my free courses, my one-on-one and group coaching, and my customized consultation connections. Oh, and you'll also find links to this show, my podcast, my fireside show, and my social networks. So here's your call to action. Head to my website and schedule a call with me. If it turns out I'm not your person, I probably know someone who is. So take action today. Now is the time. Let's do this.
Now is the time. That was your call to action. I'm really bad about that, but I'm getting better, right? That's my learning. That's a gap for me too. I hardly ever ask. So, and we have not if we ask not. So, I believe, I truly believe, not only based on my experience, but based on the people I work with, the people I have worked with, the clients I've worked with, those who are truly willing to be open to a different perspective are the ones who can truly solidify where they're wanting to go and what they're wanting to do and find a pathway that works for them to get there. Because everyone's path is different. Everyone's path is different. And when I think about this accelerator that I'm doing at the end of the year, and I really am excited about it. I think it's going to be, it is absolutely what I need. And it is an opportunity for learning and growth and different perspectives and connecting with people that I never would have connected with. And it's an opportunity to address some things where I want to develop, because we all have places we want to develop. And one of the things for me is just developing that energy around connection. And I connect with people really easily, really easily. I love connecting with people. I connect with people really easily. What I also have is a really high empathetic quotient, which makes my energy drain really quickly. And so I'm very selective around my connection. And so what that means is I need to find more efficient ways, more effective ways to connect and build relationships that are genuine, because I don't do idle chit chat, just to chat. But that's why you'll never see me do a post on LinkedIn that's a false post through an IM that says, hey, want to connect with you. And then as soon as you connect, you get the, hey, buy my thing. You'll never see that from me, because see, that's not real. But what you will see is a genuine, hey, I'd love to connect. What's going on with your business, right? This time study is really important for me, because one of the things I want to learn is where some places are where I can add some more time, because I am not engaging nearly as much as I have a desire to, right? Because that's the other thing we have to learn, is learn ourselves. I was thinking this morning as I was preparing for the show today, and talking about learning and doing the podcast is, you know, there's so many, as an HR person, right? There's so many things out there. There's so many ways to learn. There's so many assessments. Y'all, we got more assessments. There's so many assessments. You can be, you know, Strengths Finders, DDI, CDR, Myers-Briggs, FIRO-B, EQ. I mean, you want an assessment, you can find an assessment. But here's a revelation I had today. And assessments are data, right? Again, information, not ammunition. Assessments can be good data. But here's my deeper question about the use of assessments. Because often assessments are used just for kind of team building to help people find a way to find common ground. But if we are willing to do the work, if we are willing to do the self-work, the work around self-awareness, the work around who we are, where we are, what we want, and what it's really going to take and what we're willing to do to get there, do we need an assessment to tell us who we are? Do we need an assessment to tell us what moves us, what shakes us, what lights us up? Do we need an assessment to do that? Or have we now become so reliant upon assessments that we allow the assessment outcome to be used as a weapon against us, to be used as ammunition? And I see that all the time. Can't work with her because she's a XYZ, right? You know, we know this conversation is going to be crazy because they're a whatever, right? Whatever color, moniker, name, whatever, right? They're so often used as opposed to information to facilitate conversation. They are used as weapons to eliminate the need for effort in conversation, because conversation is about effort. Conversation is about effort. It's about a true curiosity about the other person with whom you're talking. And that curiosity is not just about the person, but maybe there's a genuine curiosity about the thing that's going on. You're genuinely curious to figure out a solution, or genuinely curious to connect in a way that moves you both forward. There's a genuine curiosity and a courage to be vulnerable and to be willing to learn, to open your ears and listen to a perspective that's different than yours. And so often, while I think some assessments are really, really great, they are only small pieces of data. They're small pieces of data. And quite frankly, they are not the best use for finding talent. Stop it. Stop it. Do the work. Ask the questions. Interview and connect with people who you want to bring into your organization, and be honest about the culture of your organization. Stop using an assessment to decide who and who is not eligible for your organization. Stop that. That's insane. Stop it. Maybe once they get there, you find some deeper information if you want to do that, but stop using that as a gatekeeper for people coming into your organization. Number one, is the assessment you're using even valid to be used that way? The majority of them are not, hint, hint. The majority of assessments are not psychologically valid. So just say it as an HR person. And don't get me wrong, I've been assessed out the wazoo, and there's some really cool stuff that comes out of them. Really. Like, I love Enneagram. That's a new one. There's some really cool stuff that comes out of them, but don't use them for the purpose that they were not intended. They are simply intended as information for learning. Learning. They're information, right? They are not weapons, and they shouldn't be used as such. And what happens is we use those and we actually eliminate learning. We have our whole teams take an assessment. We get what the team assessment is. We know what everybody's little thing is. And then all of a sudden it gives us a reason not to engage, or to change the way we engage, or to not engage genuinely, because in our minds, it gives us an out. It gives us an out. Yeah, Jenny, I hate it. They're not weapons, right? Although they're used that way. It is really important when we talk about learning that we understand the difference between information and ammunition, and when we start using information, that we're cognizant when we start using information as ammunition, because that completely undermines what we're trying to do if we're trying to lead and be in service, because leadership is about behavior, not about position. So if you're a leader and what people hear coming out of your mouth is, oh, that's that D showing up again. That's that I showing up again. That's that ENFP coming out again, right? We only have one of those. That's that achiever. If you hear yourself saying that, I need you to check yourself. What do you mean? Because while you may be saying it in jest, maybe, you need to really evaluate, why are you saying it? If you may be saying it in jest, that's not necessarily how it's communicated to somebody else, especially the person about whom you're speaking. And you're giving permission, you're setting the stage, you're telling people what's okay. So just be cognizant of how you're using that stuff. And I'm not saying that we can't joke around and we can't have some frivolity, that we can't be, casual. And I'm not saying any of that, because sometimes we get so buttoned up that we can't even have conversations either, right? Any extreme is not good. And any good thing taken to an extreme can become bad. What I'm saying is we need to be reasonable people. We need to be grown folks is what we need to do, right? We need to understand that learning is constant if we allow it to be. And even if we don't allow it to be, we are always learning something, because the experience that happens based on our behavior teaches us something, even if we don't call it learning. When we ask for assistance at our job and we get pushback that says, why are you still asking that question? We have learned never to ask that question again. That's what it has taught us. The engagement, the consequences of our behavior have taught us something. Something about the person, something about the culture, and potentially something about ourselves. The challenge is what we have learned, what we've been taught, is that accurate or not? Is the story true or not? The experience is true. I just got embarrassed publicly because I asked the question. That experience is true. But does that mean I'm stupid? That's not true. Does that mean that nobody in this organization can ask a question? That may or may not be true. You got to really look at your culture. Does that mean this leader is not someone I ever want to ask a question to? Probably. Or at least not publicly, right? Those experiences give us information in order to make decisions going forward. But if we use them as information, we can take the value from them. If we use them as ammunition, we cannot. We begin to box ourselves in and box others out. We begin to make assumptions and feed into our biases, as opposed to being open to learning. The one thing about this accelerator, or one of the things about this accelerator when they talk about their community rules, is really being open to the fact that everyone learns differently, that we all have some kind of biases, but that it's not the other person's job to educate you on your bias. You own your bias. You do the education and research to check your own bias. And once you do that, then you can ask some intelligent questions or respond when you're checked on your bias to understand why, right? But don't expect someone against whom you are exhibiting bias to educate you on why your bias is a problem. That's not their job. That's not the job. And so one of the premises of this community is we will own our own learning. We will be responsible for our own learning. We will do the work. And I encourage you guys to do the same thing. Love the process of learning, because the process of learning can be messy, and the process of learning can be hard, and the process of learning can have some serious dips in it and might have some pain. But man, once you know something, they can't take that away from you. That's the thing about education. That's why so many people still push so hard to get the education, even as costly as it is. Because once it's in your head, once you know it, no one can take that from you. They can take a job, they can take a car, they can take a house. They can't take what you know. You own that. Your knowledge is yours. That knowledge is power. Knowledge is power, and your ability to use that knowledge and your critical thinking skills to push yourself forward and to push other people forward is so important. It's so important. Learning is a superpower. Being willing to learn is a superpower. Being willing to ask questions and be vulnerable and say, I just don't know, is a superpower. Because none of us knows everything, and it's okay. That's why we have experts, and even experts continue to do research. Scientists don't stop when they find the solution to one problem, because usually the solution to that one problem has created something else or uncovered something else, right? It's like that really old book called The Goal. I read it in grad school. It's called The Goal. It's about manufacturing, right? And it talks about bottlenecks. And when you reach one bottleneck and you fix it, it usually moves somewhere else. I love that. That's the thing that really made me love manufacturing, The Goal, because that's how I think. I'm like, okay, we got to figure out what is the root cause of this problem. And then when we fix that root cause, then the other things can show up. It's about learning and being willing to get information in, to use that information as data to act upon, and then gather more information to act upon. It's a constant process of gathering information, of paying attention to your surroundings, of keeping your eye on your goal so that as you bring in information, you can filter through it quickly. It's a lifelong thing. It's a lifelong thing. We're going to do some shout outs here in a minute, but I was joking earlier, not joking, but I was laughing earlier as I was talking about, learning this radio show process and being here in KCOH and for the first few shows, I went back and looked at some of my first few shows, and sitting down and then watching Jerry, and then Jerry saying something one point about standing up, Jerry saying something about, Laurel, you need to get a banner. Being willing to listen and absorb and learn and then act upon that learning. It seems simple. And I even heard Al Roker talk about it the other day when he used to be a DJ or on radio or something. He's like, yeah, I always stand up. He said, I always did. He said, you breathe better, you think better, you move better when you're standing in this situation. Never thought about that. Never thought about it because I'd never done it before. But I'm sitting here in a studio that has been around for 60 plus years with someone who's been in this business for a long time, who knows this business. Why would I not pay attention to that? Why would I not learn from that? So for those of you who are embarking upon something new or thinking upon something new, or even if you've been doing something for a while, who's doing it and has been doing it longer than you, or who is where you would like to be, go talk to them. Go send them a real LinkedIn message and say, hey, here's who I am. Here's what I see you're doing. This is what I'm doing. I would love to sit at your feet and learn. And in response to that, whatever I can do to be of service to you, and if it's within my power, I'm willing to do that. Just be honest, right? And go learn from the people who've been where you want to be.
That's good. That's good. When you said that, it reminds me of doing attorney Ben Hall's show.
Yeah. And
he would be talking, and I'm like, oh, that's on my head. Oh, I don't want to hear that. And so after a while, he kept on talking about certain things that I had no knowledge of. Mm-hmm. And then one day he asked me a question. He said, Jerry, what do you think about that? I said, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know what you're talking about. He said, Jerry, you need to get out of that prayer closet and start paying attention to what's going on. And that made me mad. Yeah. But it made me learn. And from that day forward, I'm like, why aren't you listening to what he's saying? Even though that's not in your realm of your education, why don't you want to know? Right. And from that point, I was like, if you want other people to learn from you, just because this is not what you do doesn't mean you won't need it. And everything he was saying, I needed it months later. Yes. So I like what you said, because oftentimes we don't know that the teacher is not always who we assume the teacher is. Right. It's best to get around people who are dropping something, nuggets. Yes. It's free education. Right. That we otherwise would not have. And most people are willing to do it.
Most people are willing to do it. And that's why I used to hate it when I was little. We'd go riding with my dad. And what that meant was we were going all around town talking to the old people because he loved to do that. But I tell you what, some of the best conversations I've ever had are with my elders. I mean, talk about libraries of information, right? If you are willing to listen, if you're willing to listen to the story, maybe repeat it a couple times. But even in that, we joke about and we get irritated and frustrated. Oh man, this is the same story. I'm going to challenge you. The next time you hear yourself saying, oh man, here's the same story, I want you to stop. If you have to physically put your hands up and say, stop, self, stop. I want you to stop. I want you to listen to that story again. And I want you to listen intently, because I will guarantee you that there is something in the retelling of that story that they didn't tell you the first time, or that you didn't hear the first time. And if you give yourself a chance to stop and listen intently, you are going to hear the message you need to hear at that time. I'm telling you, I guarantee it. Do it and then call me. Do it and then send me a message. Send me a message and let me know. Because I tell you, that in that frustration, if we will stop and stop being so pompous, stop being so impatient, there is so much gold in those years, y'all. There is gold in those years, and those resilient people, the folks who have been there, done that. There's also gold in children, like they say, out of the mouths of babes.
Yes.
There have been some folks, some kids, I'm like, I know they have been here before. I know they have, right? And people used to tell me I was born 40. This kind of things we would talk about. I never felt young. I just didn't think that way. There are kids from whom you will learn some incredible stuff. And so organizations, if you will find a way to make those intergenerational connections, the value to your business, if your focus is on your stakeholder, which it should be, and even if your focus is on your shareholder, which it probably is, you find a way to make those generational connections and get value out of that generational connection, exponential additive to your company. I'm just telling you. All right, we're going to do some shout outs here today.
Okay, that's good. We're in Mexico,
Yes.
Kenya,
Okay, Kenya.
Brazil, France, Panama, Germany, Finland, New Zealand, United Kingdom, Paris,
Love it.
Hamburg, Panama City, Wellington, big numbers,
Yay.
Helsinki, London in great numbers.
Hey,
today,
London.
San Antonio, Detroit, New York, Chicago, St. Louis, Los Angeles, Atlanta,
Yeah.
Kansas City, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston, of course.
I love it. Detroit. I haven't seen y'all before. Welcome, Detroit. I'm so glad to have y'all here. I lived in Detroit for a while, in Novi, right outside. Worked downtown at the Rinsen. So welcome to my Detroit peeps. And let me call out Mo City, because Dr. Cynthia called me out for not calling out Mo City the other day. She did, right? So Mo City, I know y'all are in the house too. So I'm glad to see y'all, Mo City, and Houston, greater Houston area. How about that? That includes Sugar Land, Missouri City, Katy, Woodlands, all y'all, Pearland, everybody. So greater Houston area, thank you. Thank you guys all, as always, for tuning in to the Rutledge Perspective. I do not take it for granted that we have a global audience that is tuning in. And I just always say a prayer before I go on the air that someone who tunes in today gets what they need from what I'm saying, because I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve. And on that note, again, we have not if we ask not, and I never promote this, and I just don't think about it. If you are a small business, we're almost at the end of Black Business Month, but I'm going to extend it through the month of September. It's going to be my gift, or one of the things that I want to do. If you are a Black-owned business, and in particular a Black woman-owned business, there is a space on my website under radio show for sponsorship. If you want to sponsor, there's some different packages and stuff, but there's also a way to just call me. Let's talk and see if there's an alignment with your business. And I would love to be able to promote your business. It's on my website and on the radio show in the month of September. So I know it was Black Business Month in August, but I figure it's Black Business Month 365 days a year. So would love to do some promotion in September for that. So if you are so inclined, go to laurelrutledge.com under the radio show page, and you can see I want to be a sponsor, and it can give you all the information there, or just set up a call with me and say, hey, I want to talk about sponsorship and what that looks like. Sponsor a show, sponsor a month, sponsor whatever. And then we can do a little 15-second ad for you too on your business. So let's do that. If you are so inclined and would like to be here on KCOH TV Radio, The Boost, one of the top urban station in Houston, Texas, one of the top in the nation for time spent listening. So big time for your dollars. I'm telling you.
You know, Laura, we have that in common. I was afraid, I'm not afraid, but I was always hesitant to ask for something that's concerning me or what I'm doing.
Yes.
And the moment I opened up my mouth and started asking for sponsorship and advertisers, people were saying, oh, we didn't know you had space for that. I'm like, yeah, I do. And they would willingly do it. And so you'll be surprised, not really surprised, but how many people are willing to do it, because if you're giving value, they want to be of value, and together we can both win, because they can get their business out, you can get what you need done and stay on the air. And so I think that it is this season, and even with your commercial, promoting your services that you have. Many people have asked what you do. You never promote that. I talk about you, but I never promote what I do either. I know. When the bills start coming in, I'm like, okay. So I think think it's just time to open up our mouths, especially when you know you've been given something of value.
Absolutely. And that's y'all right there. See, y'all catch that gem, that nugget, right? It really is about, and thank you, Jenny. I appreciate that shout out. That's the thing. That's what it means to be learning from people and sitting at the feet of people who know. If you are not good at calls to action, at asking for support, asking for business, if you're not good at selling, I'm not good at selling. Although a friend of mine who is an exceptional salesperson, like exceptional, I said that to him and he said, that's not true. That's not true. He said, you are actually exceptional at selling. It just depends on whether or not you believe in what you're selling. I'm like, ooh, that's a good point. Because stuff that I love, I'm all about promotion. Now, I love me, but that's intergenerational. Don't be egotistical. Don't brag. That's all that head trash, right? That gets in the way for a lot of us when we start asking for stuff. So yes, I would love to meet you and engage with you and see if I can be of service to you. Go to all things Laurel Rutledge. You can find on my website, laurelrutledge.com. How you can work with me, whether you want to work with me, book me for your thing, because I love to facilitate, love to MC things. And I'm really good at it. Took me a long time to say that. I'm exceptional at facilitation, and would love to do that for you and for your business, and to come in and talk to your organization around aligning words and action, around learning from each other by being opening our ears. We got 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? Opening our ears, being willing to learn, being willing to absorb, and being willing to be honest about aligning our words and actions. People will listen to what you say. They will believe what you do. I can help you and your team act in a way that supports what you say you want. Been there, done that, got the receipts. I can help you too if you feel like it is something that you need. I am more than willing to have that conversation and would love to do so. So find me. laurelrutledge.com is the website. You can find everything there. I'm also on social. Laurel.k.rutledge and Laurel and the.rutledge perspective on Instagram. You can find me, or just look up Laurel. You can find me. I'm on Facebook at the Rutledge Perspective. I'm on LinkedIn at Laurel K. Rutledge. You can find me. I do have Pinterest and TikTok and Twitter, and I have those. And y'all, it's just a lot. It's a lot. No, I'm not really TikToking. I just got an account, but we're working on that, right? We're working on that. I'm getting support to do some of these other things, and I am learning what makes sense for me. I am giving myself the freedom to decide how and where and when I want to show up. Just like they say, a confused mind never buys, right? Don't be telling people too much stuff that's going on. The confused mind never buys. Here's the other side of that I heard, because it's all about perspective, right? I saw someone post, everybody says just offer one thing, confused mind never buys, but you don't go into Dillard's and there's one shirt. I was like, that's a good point. And in fact, that's the problem with Target, because you go in for one thing and you buy 400, right? So we know that while a confused mind never buys, sometimes giving people enough stuff actually gives them an opportunity. That's why they call them end caps. Gives them an opportunity to say, you know what? I didn't even know I needed that, but I do. Just a thought.
You said that, I'm thinking about TikTok, when you said about TikTok. And there's a lot of stuff on TikTok where they're doing all these little different recipes. Stuff I never wanted to eat or want. Right. But when you see it, you're like, oh, I want that. And when you said about you don't like the idea of selling, I think when we change our perspective that it's no longer selling, that it's an invitation to collaborate, to go further together. That girl said
there you go. Say that.
D. Anderson is a part of the show today. He said, big facts, big facts.
Yay, great.
Good morning to Cynthia J. Hickman that's tuned in on today. I want to speak to them before
Good morning.
Denise Washington is tuned in on today. We've got Michelle Johnson tuned in on today. We've got Miss Haynes tuned in on today by way of Facebook. And Nicholas Hine tuned in on today by way of Facebook.
I love it. Thank y'all so much. And I've got Jenny.
I'm sorry.
Oh, good morning. And I've got Mama Young is on, and Jenny Keeler is on, and Felicia Washington, and Deanna Marshall, and Sarah Marsha Galatas. And I am so thankful for all of y'all showing up. I'm telling you. And here's the thing. Here's the final thing that I will ask. For those of you who have been listening to me, who've been following me, who got anything out of this or anything else, here's my ask. I would truly appreciate it. One, if you would follow, because I like genuine followers. I'm not going to be buying bots. But more importantly, if you will please like and share this with somebody that you think can also get some benefit from it. And leave a review. Facebook, the podcast is on every platform every platform. So it's on Libsyn, it's on iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. It's everywhere. Please like and share. It gives me the ability to continue to spread the message broader. I want to be able to make an impact. The same impact you feel you got from this time with me, I want to be able to make that as broadly as I possibly can. I love doing this work. I love doing this work. And by continuing to have it shared and be more public and getting reviews and getting comments from you, it enables me to continue to do it and to continue to build sponsorship and advertisement, because I can show that you are there and that I am adding value. So I would ask that today, if this made sense for you, would you please at least like and share to one person? Just one person. If you got more, that's even better. But one person, if you will like this and you will share it to one person and encourage them to get on the podcast, to follow me on Fireside or follow me on social, I would truly appreciate it. And then finally, don't forget, please go look at the video and send me your comment on what you're doing these last 4 months so I can put you in the drawing for these 2 gift boxes with the swag in it. A candle that can get your piece right, a journal where you can get really aligned on alignment, vision, and action. Activate your alignment, clarify your vision, and move into empowered action. And then a nice little mug with a top on it that you can put your favorite tea or coffee or adult beverage, whatever suits your fancy, in that. So a whole little self-care, get clear package. And I've got 2 of those, 2 boxes of all 3 of those things that I'm giving away. Oh, and there's also a QR code in those with a handwritten thank you note for a free 30-minute session with me to talk about whatever you need to talk about in terms of alignment, vision, or action. All right, y'all. We're going to call it a day because it's going to be a crazy one. Love y'all so much. Thank you for being here. Please pass and share, and like and share on Jerry's page too, because it helps us all and helps the station. Appreciate it. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Thank you guys. Appreciate you. Y'all came in liking so good. I didn't have to even ask you. So I thank you all for liking before you came in. Gregory, good to see you. You still want to do that show? Talk to me.